Hello, good afternoon. Hey Steve, how are you?
Thanks for having me on. It's exciting to be here, and so glad to meet so many of your viewers and subscribers.
Oh, it's so awesome to have you. And yeah, so welcome anybody who's popped in today for a bit of a coffee chat. We are so lucky to have Steve Poplar, Poplar Preparedness here. And most of you guys probably already know his channel, but just in case you don't, he covers SHTF, disasters, inflation, upheaval, self-sufficiency, growing your own food, stocking up, current events, and also just a fun fact, he's been to at least 49 countries. So yeah, thank you so much. This will just be
No,
a quick coffee chat, and I've got one here. I don't know about you.
I know I'm drinking tea. Sorry.
Awesome. No, that's great. Just something is great. And it looks like we've got a few
No,
people joining us here. We've got Jeannie who just
fantastic.
started a channel. We've got Thorhaven, another great channel. Double D Homestead. How's it going? Yeah. So thanks a lot.
Oh,
Steve, would you mind telling us a little bit about your channel?
sure. Um, just like you, we started up not too far distant time frame from each other. So we've both been kind of doing this. Me for what, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks more than you. So
Yeah.
it's crazy, and my channel has just been so blessed and just kind of blew up, and I appreciate that. And but I realize a lot of that's just kind of luck at the draw. Unfortunately, the algorithm gods blessed me, and so but we cover a lot about the food shortages. That's what a lot of people are worried about, what they're seeing on the store shelves. And so I kind of see that I get mostly two kinds of viewers on my channel.
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
I, I get a lot of, as I call them affectionately, the soccer moms who go to the store and they see empty shelves and they're just kind of like, what just happened? What is
Yeah.
happening? Why are their shelves empty? They're just kind of they're just starting to awake to the to the system that we've created and how it's not as stable as we would like it to be.
Hmm.
And then I got a lot more more established preparers,
Yep.
um, and they're all just kind of like wondering, when is this thing finally going to get really bad? Is it today? Is it tomorrow? And
Yeah.
as someone who's also done a lot of preparation too, I understand that just that drive to kind of understand what's going on in the world.
Hmm.
And some people kind of knock it, but it's what the people want, and so I do that. But I also like to really dig into some practical what I'm doing, and how to what I can contribute to the preparedness community.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you do some really great whiteboard discussions and covering current events. It's great. So the link to Steve's channel is in the description box. I hope you guys will all go check that out. Would you mind telling us a little bit about what got you on the path of preparedness?
Yeah. So I worked over in Central Asia for a couple of years, doing disaster relief, and we were way back up in the mountains of Tajikistan and Afghanistan. And it just, sometimes, not sometimes, pretty much every year, multiple times, the mountain passes snow shut. And when they do, food just dries up. You go down to the market and there just isn't anything there. And we just learned when I got there, you need to stock up for winter. You need to be prepared. And a lot of folks, like in Canada,
Hmm.
and places like Idaho and such that are out there a little bit, they experience the same thing. And so when
Hmm.
I kind of saw that, it really started waking me up. I came back to the United States and did some disaster relief responses like Superstorm Sandy and some
Hmm.
others. And I was really shocked at how little food most Americans have stored up. And
Yep.
we're just responding, and people don't have 3 days of food in their homes. And when I saw that,
Yeah.
I was just floored by that. And I said, I'm not going to be one of those people. And
Yeah.
so I started taking steps. And as I got more into this preparedness community and understanding the current events and how unstable our supply chains are, how we're really just dependent upon a lot of corporations' benevolence and their just their convenience. If it becomes
Yeah.
inconvenient for them to supply us something, they just won't.
Yeah.
And you know, your shop down the street that has an owner that they will care. But a
Yep.
faceless corporation, they don't care if their
Nope.
store shelves are empty. They'll try, but they're just trying to please their shareholders. If it's too
Yeah.
expensive, they just won't do anything for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So it can probably be a big topic for somebody new to prepping. Where would someone even start if they
Yeah,
wanted to get into preparedness?
sure, sure. I I keep saying this, and because I view that a lot of folks that I have on my channel are new to prepping,
Hmm.
new to the whole concept. I Food storage is where you need to start. You need to
Yep.
get some food stocked up because that's just so very essential,
Hmm.
and it really will give you a lot more freedom and a lot more power,
Yeah.
because when you need something, other people just they control you,
Hmm.
and I hate that. I
Yep.
don't like a lot of the direction of people who are running Washington D.C. and Ottawa
Hmm.
and all the other capitals out there. I don't like the people out there. I don't like the people who are running Wall Street. I don't like those people. I don't trust them. I
Hmm.
don't like them having power over me, and I don't like
Yep.
them having power over anyone else. I don't like them having power over anyone who stumbles across my channel. I want people to have the power to provide for their own families,
Yep.
and we all need to be moving that direction because it's just unsustainable what we're doing right now. I mean, it's like we're in the mortgage-backed securities
Yeah.
fraud of 2008, except right now it's the corporations themselves and the governments themselves that are the Ponzi schemes,
Yep.
and it's just ridiculous when you look at the numbers. I'm a accountant by background,
Yes.
so I look at balance sheets, and
Yep.
as I invest in the stock market and such like that, I look at the
Yep.
company's balance sheets, and what I see just shocks me. And then when I try to do the numbers on the U.S. federal government,
Yep.
it's just ridiculous. I mean,
Yep.
it's like the numbers don't make any sense whatsoever, and yet
Yep.
everyone assumes that these things are forever. And
Yeah.
I'm a student of history, like you, and um, I see in history what has happened to countries that have done the same thing that we're doing right now. And
Yeah.
times of upheaval
Hmm.
and times of uncertainty come,
Hmm.
and that's why I just think that everyone should just stock up on some food, start looking
Yep.
at growing your own food, and just becoming a little more self-sufficient, so that when push comes to shove, someone doesn't have a stick to coerce your behavior.
Absolutely. One of my favorite books is still Collapse by Jared Diamond. And
Oh
the
yeah,
signs are there, right? It's the same
yeah,
same recipe happening all over again.
sure.
You cover so many topics. There was, I know one video where you had all these lesser known items, and I love that video. I won't spoil it for anybody, but prepping items. And then I also love how you've actually talked quite a bit about sanitation, and Prepper Dog talked about that today in his video. Just an
Yeah,
underutilized topic that's so important. And along that, are there any lesser known items or one lesser known item that you're kind of
sure.
excited about that you'd tell us?
Yeah. Well, let's go back to sanitation for just a second. I
Okay.
that is a something that's really close to my heart, because when I've done disaster responses, the things that people in the United States, when a hurricane comes through or something like that, that their biggest needs are food, and then hot showers and laundry is a huge thing that they need. So we move my disaster relief organization. We move in a lot of shower units, and a lot of
Hmm.
they're like multi shower and multi laundry units. And uh, Southern Prepper One, I think, did one where it was just genius. He had like a 5 gallon bucket with a hole cut in it with a plunger,
Yes.
with some holes drilled in the plunger, and he's just
Hmm.
like, "This is your new,
Yep.
washer." And I was there like, "That's just genius. All you need is just a clean plunger, and
Yep.
you can make that yourself and wash your clothes if you need to." So,
Yep.
okay, sorry.
No,
Back
it's
to
okay.
uh, lesser known items. one of my hobby horses is power,
Yep.
and those power banks that you can
Yes.
recharge your cell phones. I think those things are just like bricks of gold. They're
Yep.
just they're cheap. And one of the other things that in disasters that I'm seeing nowadays is that people really need to charge their cell phones.
Yeah.
The cell phone towers are still up, but they don't have any power, and so people start setting up uh, places where people can charge their cell phones, and then they have
Mm.
to walk to this place where they can charge their cell phone. They have to plug in their cell phone. And they have to stand around there for like 2 or 3 hours while their cell phone charges. And in a situation, you need your cell phone to work. And
Yep.
power bricks are, or power banks are just cheap. You can get them for 20, $30, and you can charge let's see, my iPhone right here. I got like the cheapo iPhone 6, I think it is. It's
Yep.
small, but I can charge my cell phone for like 5 or 6 times off a 20 some dollar power bank. I think that everyone should have a whole bunch of them, and they should be
Yep.
charged up. It'd be good to have a way to recharge them. Uh, Make sure you have extra chargers if you're going to charge them off like a generator, because the generator's going to throw off some nasty power and it will
Hmm.
burn up your chargers. But the power banks itself should be all right. But the charger itself that you're plugging in from the AC to DC converter, those
Hmm.
things can burn up. And if you have some extras of those, you can make that work. But another thing is uh, airlocks.
Hmm.
You know, I'm talking on that one. I
Hmm.
think long-term airlocks for making wine
Hmm.
or alcoholic beverages is huge. I am not a partaker of alcoholic beverages
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah.
but in a longer-term collapse, you're going to need ways uh, to store your fruit. I'm
Yeah.
going to put in a whole bunch more fruit trees this coming spring, and I'm
Hmm.
hoping to get a whole bunch of fruit. But one of the best ways to preserve fruit is turning into to wine or hard cider. And
Hmm.
in a grid down situation, that's going to be worth its weight in gold, not just for entertainment purposes, but for medical purposes, um,
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
also nutrition. You get some wine that's not 0 calorie, but it
Yeah.
sure will last forever.
Oh,
And
that's great.
you can fill up 2 liter bottles full of alcohol that will last indefinitely, but you can't put fruit in a 2 liter bottle. You can't can a
Yeah.
2 liter bottle.
Yeah.
So how else are you going to put apple stuff into a 2 liter bottle and it not go bad? You can't, other than
Wow.
turning into alcohol. So
Wow, those are just fantastic ideas and things that you don't hear too
hey,
often
pepper
also
dog.
on the, yeah. Just to put that little shout out up there for you.
Yeah.
Hey, Prepper Dog, thanks for joining us. Yeah, those are just great ideas. And about the battery banks, on any of your videos, do you have links to ones you recommend underneath your videos or?
Yeah, I'm just so darn cheap. I just get the cheapest thing I can
Yep.
find on Amazon,
Yeah.
and that changes day to day. I have some links for ones I recommended on Amazon
Yep.
a couple months ago, but I haven't re-upped those links recently. I was about to
Yep.
kind of do that maybe, but if you just go to Amazon,
Yep.
just really be careful and look at the reviews and make sure you're not getting scammed, because a lot of those things are coming straight out of China, and some of them are
Yep.
garbage and they don't hold the charge that they say they do.
Oh.
They'll all overstate their capacity unless they're
Hmm.
like a straight American brand or a Canadian brand or a European brand.
Those are just such great tips. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
People are really going to appreciate that. I had one other thing I wanted to ask you. Back in the fall, I attended a virtual event on your page, which I call the well, it was a one-way event, but it was the holiday meal video where you did garden prepper Prepsgiving. Can you tell us about
Prepsgiving.
that? That was
You know,
so
one of the
cool.
commenters, one of the viewers actually threw that out there called Prepsgiving, and I said that I was like, that's funny.
Hmm.
Yeah, so my family came out for Christmas, and so I was kind of alone on Thanksgiving, which is fine.
Yep.
Um, and so I was like, well, since I'm going to do Thanksgiving by myself, of course I talked to them by phone.
Yes.
Um, but I tried to make a Thanksgiving meal out of what I had on hand from my garden from that year. And
Mhm.
so I made some toasted sorghum,
Mhm.
and I made mashed sunchokes, um,
Yes.
and then I pan fried some chicken. Now I didn't. I pardoned all of my chickens, so I didn't make any of them pay the ultimate sacrifice there. But I got some frozen chicken out and pan fried it. But I cooked it all off grid on just propane.
Yep.
Uh, that was a fire hazard and a half. So
Yep.
that really turned me on to the idea that I really need to get one of those flat camp stoves as opposed to
Mhm.
the propane canister going up and then the camp stove on top and then put bottle on top of that. That was I was genuinely afraid for my safety at a couple points there.
Yep.
So that's a good tip out there. I was here like, I don't need one of those camp stoves with like a double burner next to each other,
Yep.
flat. But I was like, yeah, that might be something to invest in. So I haven't picked it up yet, but I'm probably just going to get one from a garage sale. Is the idea?
It's just so great though, because actually
Hmm.
going through that whole thing, you see what the hazards are, what you're missing, what worked,
Yeah.
and it was very entertaining. So anyone who hasn't seen that video, go check it out. I
Yeah.
do have actually another question for you, which
Hmm.
is, it's just a tiny question, which is, do you have any positivity ideas for keeping going during difficult times? Just this tiny little question.
Sure, sure. I mean, you're in crisis response. You've done backcountry, um, uh, well, sorry, backcountry
Sure.
first aid, right? And
Well,
responder.
paramedic, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
paramedic.
have thousands of
Um,
hours, yeah.
so you're in tough situations there too, and
Yeah.
I think that when, especially when I was in Central Asia and had difficult times, one of the things that my boss over there said that um, we get really discouraged because we couldn't get anything done. And
Mm,
when you're dealing with really, really incompetent government and corrupt governments and corrupt everything and lazy, sometimes it would take all day just to pay your phone bill because you'd have to stand in line to
mhm,
pay a phone company your bill, which is just
mhm.
ridiculous. Uh, and so it just felt like you're never getting anything accomplished. And he always asked us when we got really frustrated, he said, "Did you accomplish something today?" And we'd be like, "Well, yeah, I accomplished this little thing." And he said, "Well, then you did something today." and he says, "And that's not a small thing."
Mhm,
And I think people who haven't really experienced real serious crisis situations, right? They don't realize how much that can really mess you up. You
Yep,
you you accomplish a whole lot less than you think you will, and
yep,
and just coping emotionally and psychologically with what's going on is
mhm,
if we have a real stuff hitting the fan situation, I think that we're going to spend a lot of our time sitting around the radio, or we're going to be sitting around trying to get news of what's going on in the world. We're going to spend an inordinate amount of our time just trying to figure out what's going on, because that's what I've seen happen around the world. I've seen that just people just spend so much time just trying to understand what's happening. We it's it's almost as important of a need as eating.
yeah,
We need to understand, and we will go through tremendous lengths to figure that out. And when we're in situations that we don't understand, it's extremely stressful to us,
mhm,
and we need to we need to become comfortable lowering our expectations. And I understand if there's no food coming in and your food pantry is starting to, the clock is ticking down to
yep,
zero and you need to get so much done. I think a lot of people who are going to get out there and try creating a garden from scratch are going to get very,
mm,
very frustrated. And
yes,
and any of us who have started gardening,
yep,
um, you might have some success. I had some. I was blown away by the success of some of the things that I grew, and
mhm,
a bunch of the stuff just didn't.
yes,
And I've learned a whole bunch, but I got so much more to learn, and we all have so much to learn. And that just goes
mhm,
across the board for all of us to move to off grid living if that's the situation. How are we going to do that? And
Mhm.
it's going to be baby step after baby step. And we need to have a lot of patience with ourselves and patience with other people.
Mhm.
Um, I've saw people over in Afghanistan and such, Westerners, and some people just deal with the stress better. Some people have
Yeah.
life experience that gets them to the point where they can deal with that stress, or they just have less stress because they're adapting the situation better. We're going to have people in our lives, or maybe we're going to be the people in our lives that are going to not be adapting very well, because you all
Yes.
going to go through phases of that. When the grid goes down, or a disaster comes through, we need to have patience with each other and patience with ourselves, and give
Mhm.
ourselves that time to just adapt. And
Mhm.
um, you know, we oftentimes look at the big one, the SHTF whole grid collapsing for weeks or months or years, but that goes for all the little disasters too. We saw that. How long does it take people to start rioting? How long does it take people to
Yes.
start looting? New Orleans, this past year, uh, people, it wasn't covered by any of the media networks, but from the people I've heard from that area, everyone was stealing everyone's gas like nobody's
Yeah.
business,
Yes.
because they needed gas to run their generators to provide for their families. And
Mhm.
people were absolutely siphoning it out of people's cars,
Yep.
breaking into people's homes to steal their gas. You had to lock it up. And we don't like the idea of things changing that rapidly, but
Mhm.
that's how things change. We often have decades and decades of no change whatsoever, and then we have minutes and hours where people dramatically change because their perspectives and their needs, or their understanding of their needs, changes dramatically, and they start doing things that an hour ago or a day ago wouldn't have made sense,
Mhm.
but now in their new paradigm, suddenly it makes sense.
Yep.
Um, Going to jail for stealing 20 gallons of gas from their neighbor doesn't make sense normally,
Mhm.
but in a situation where your family can't cook,
Mhm.
suddenly it makes sense.
Yeah. Wow. That's yeah, absolutely. Okay, so moving to another question I have for you.
Sure.
Can you tell us, I know the answer, but can you tell us generally what region you're in geography wise?
Oh yeah, I'm in Pittsburgh,
Yep.
so Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
So a little bit up in the mountains, but not too mountainous here.
Yeah, and so what type of weather or natural disasters do you have to prep for in your area?
We don't really have much, so this is the perfect place to live. So everyone should move here. Just kidding. uh, we get a lot of snow,
Yeah.
but that's the big one. Flooding is just an issue just to certain areas where, if you're on a floodplain, you can get flooding, but we don't
Yep.
get hit by hurricanes. Earthquakes aren't really a thing here.
Yep.
I'd say that the biggest things that we need to worry about are snow, ice
Mhm.
storms,
Mhm.
but those are really not that big of a disaster. So
Mhm.
if I had to say a disaster, I would have to say something more like a um, as far fetched as it sounds, nuclear
Yeah.
attacks,
Yep.
and I do have a nuclear power plant
Mhm.
upwind of me, so
Yep.
it is. It's a safe distance. I think it's like 90 miles away or something like that.
Mhm.
But and it's not exactly directly upwind, so it's supposedly safe. But if the grid goes down for an extended period of time, that nuclear power plant could melt down.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people don't really understand nuclear power plants, and
Mhm.
so they kind of err on two sides, and sometimes they err on both sides at the same time. When nuclear power plants are normally operating, they're
Mhm.
extremely safe,
Oh,
extremely,
absolutely.
extremely
Yep.
safe. And you really don't have much to worry about at all. But if the workers leave the power plant and the grid is down, it's inevitable that those power plants will melt down.
Mhm.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
they'll be largely contained because they're in concrete boxes. Chernobyl was bad because it exploded and it was basically in a metal warehouse. They didn't
Mhm.
have a concrete dome over a thing, which is just ridiculous.
Mhm.
But pretty much no, not pretty much every nuclear power plant in the United States has a concrete vessel containing the reactors. But that that will melt down if the
Mhm.
workers leave, if the power remains off for an extended period of time. But how bad will that be? To the people in the immediate area, it could be an issue, but further out, probably not so much an issue unless it explodes.
Mhm.
And, basically just kind of, the pressure of steam builds up to the point where it breaks that concrete container open. At that
Mhm.
point, um, if the power's down and everything like that, is anyone going to tell you that something happened? No one will
Mhm.
know. And
Yep.
it's a problem. And then that'd be a huge problem across the entire United States. If the whole grid
Yep.
goes down for an extended period of time, that will be a situation that a lot of people won't expect and they might not even realize is going on. But
Mhm.
radiation is not nearly as bad as most people would think that it is. A nuclear
Yep.
attack would be much, much worse. And
Yep.
as unthinkable as that is, unfortunately, I'm of the perspective that it's kind of inevitable.
Yep.
And coming from Pittsburgh, we actually had more nuclear weapons pointed at us than anyone else in the world during the Cold
Mhm.
War, which is a dubious distinction. Um,
Mhm.
and so I think that makes us a little more aware of the fact that we are high on the target list for
Mhm.
Russia and such
Mhm.
for various reasons. But
Mhm.
I don't know if that's still true.
Mhm.
But we were the first city that would get nuked on the U.S. side. If Russia chose to take out a city, they would have taken out Pittsburgh, which, yeah,
Oh.
crazy.
Wrong.
Um,
Wrong place. Wrong time. Eh.
yeah.
Uh.
But once again, if you understand that risk and understand
Yep.
basic things to take care of, basic stuff. If you see a blast, don't look at it. That's
Mhm.
number one rule. Don't look at it and then get underground as fast as you can, and stay
Mhm.
underground for 2 or 3 days and try to get a radio if you can, and just let all the particles drop out of the sky, and that will really significantly reduce the radiation because in those first 24 hours, you can get a lot of radiation exposure just from particles raining down. So I know a lot of people don't like to think about that. It's much more fun to talk about other things, but
You
uh,
know, I think about it. I used to do uranium exploration. I used to do drilling and
mhm.
mapping and working with uranium. So I think
Okay,
about
yeah,
radioactivity. I'm still here, but it's something I've thought a lot about.
yeah,
I know you've got some homesteading to do, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but I
sure,
have one question that I know people would want to know because I've seen it in the questions before. Do you have any, it's a little bit changing pace here, but do you have any advice for someone who doesn't have a lot of space? For example, they live in
sure.
a mobile home or an apartment and they want to get a little bit more self-sufficient. Do you have a tidbit of advice for that person?
Yeah, sure. I started off in my apartment, and it was just the 1 year ago now that I was able to move out here to 1 acre, which has been such a huge blessing. But I was living in my apartment downtown almost, and it was just it's stressful for sure. Being surrounded by so many people, it's just like so many things could go wrong. Um,
Yeah.
and I didn't have the option of growing food out my yard at all.
Mhm.
So honestly, and this goes against everything that everyone says, but in an apartment, I think that stacking food is really the most space conscious thing you can do. Stack
Mhm.
rice, stack beans, and sacrifice a closet if you have to, or if you can get creative with your space, do that. One way to create self-sufficiency, if you're a little more daring, is find a park near you or find some
Mhm.
space that nobody's using that's just kind of overgrown, and go and plant some sunchokes.
Mhm.
Nobody knows what they are. So if you go there and you plant some sunchokes will grow on their own. And after a while, you will have a sunchoke thicket there. and you're basically just doing some stealth gardening. And then when you need food, you can go to that place, dig up with sunchokes, and take them home, and you'll have a bunch of food. That's or you can do that with some other plants too that are less well known, or other things that people just won't recognize what they are, and people won't think to go to a park to dig up plants. And so if you have a long bug out trip ahead of you, or if you work really far from home and you need a get home plan, you can also do a thicket of sunchokes along your route that you can go to resupply there. And so doing some stealth gardening may not only just help you, but it could maybe help some other people out too. I don't know. That's just a crazy thought, but maybe it helps. Maybe it sparks some kind of inspiration in somebody.
Oh, it's great. I think we all have to go do that right now. I think everyone's going to leave this chat and go start their planting of sunchokes in there. No, seriously. If you do that and you're willing to send us a picture on email or something with no location described, I'm sure
secret
both
location
of us would love to see your stealth gardening of sunchokes. Well, it looks like I know you've got chickens and stuff right outside. You've got animals.
Sadly, I only have one left.
Oh, I won't ask.
A couple of them died violent deaths. So
yeah.
Protect your chickens from wildlife. I heard it. I didn't do as good of a job as I could have, and learned the hard way, I guess. That's all of us, right? Just learning the hard way for a lot of things.
Life is hard. It really is.
Sure.
Okay, well, yeah, I wanted to say thanks again for stopping in and chatting with us. I can tell by the comments that people got a lot out of it. You're a real inspiration, and I'll just, be watching your videos, and anyone who isn't already subscribed, I don't know how that's possible, but if somehow you're not already subscribed to Steve Poplar's channel, it's in the description box. No. And yeah, we'll, I guess, catch you on your next video then.
Well, thanks so much, and thank you all for watching. And if you haven't subscribed to Van City Prepper, please do that.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. All right. Well, thanks again, and have a great afternoon, everybody. Okay, bye.